What's up, man? How are you?
This setup is great.
Thanks, dude.
This setup is phenomenal, man.
Thank you, man. You should have seen it when it first started. It was bad. For the first 5 episodes I recorded, I had no idea what I was doing. I had my laptop in the corner. We were recording on a digital board.
Yeah.
And I was in Cohab downtown, and I didn't know the mics weren't picking up the whole time. So everything was recording off the laptop microphone.
Yeah.
So it was horrible, man, for the first 5 or 6 episodes. And I just had my little iPhone in the corner recording the whole thing. And it would take 7 hours to upload that because it was recorded in 4K or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a shit show. But yeah, so we've come a long way.
Look at this. This is great. This is tremendous.
Thanks. Well, dude, I want to have you on because, one, y'all's event's coming up.
Yeah.
And 100% transparency, I've never been.
Oh, boy.
And I've always wanted to go, and it's always something happened. I was out of town for an event when it landed or whatever, but this year I want to make it. But it's just tell me how that come to fruition, what your involvement is on, if you don't mind.
Yeah, actually, I don't think I've gone through the whole story yet once this year. Usually that's the further away we get from it, the more things get hazy. But basically, I guess we can break it all down to when I first was interviewing to come here. So I had been working in radio in Wisconsin for about 5 years. Came down to interview with a job here, and part of the interview process was, what kind of events have you ever been a part of? Not concerts, but events. And really the only thing that I had done prior to coming here that wasn't a concert was Cherry Capital Con, which is now Cherry Capital Comic Con in Traverse City, Michigan. And so I just kind of blurted out, I did a Comic Con once. And little did I know, they were like, all right, jot that down, note that for later. Take the job, come down, first week, they're like, okay, we're going to work on this. And there was already a project that was underway locally, and so it wasn't something that we snap launched. It was okay, well, we're not going to do this. That event did not go as planned. Relatively poorly executed, some things, lots of drop balls, lots of people left literally out in the rain. So the Monday after that, it wasn't even the Monday. I was in the parking lot making phone calls going, we have to fix this problem.
What year was that? I don't remember.
2015.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
And so I'm in the parking lot calling and saying, we have to fix this. We have to sort this out. We have to make this happen. We got the green light. We started moving forward. It was literally 6 months. Well, might have been 5, really. But we threw the whole first year together in less than 6 months. And for an event of this kind in a market this size, that first year was so big that it blew expectations, not just from us, but the onlookers in the industry. So we took a huge jump in year 2. It took us a few years to kind of find our balance, and we're still playing around.
Yeah.
Last year was a huge experiment year. And this year it's not so much experiment. It's kind of let's get back to the basics. Let's remember who we are and where we are. But yeah, the whole project came out of a random question in an interview, and then a weird weekend with a severe thunderstorm. And then next thing you know, we got Peter Mayhew and Jim Cummings hanging out in Shreveport, and that leads to Elvira and Alice Cooper and Matthew Lillard, Kevin Smith, and just so on and so on. Hundreds of guests now if we really thought about it.
Yeah. I've been impressed just looking on the outside, looking in. It's every damn year I'm like, son of a bitch, I have something going on. You know what I mean? And I saw the lineup this year, and I was like, dude. And then someone tagged you in one of my episodes that went out, and I was like, I really need to have this guy on because I want to talk about this because I have no clue how it's organized and how it works. And this is such a it's such a niche market when it comes to these events. How many regionally are there?
So I don't know exactly when it happened, but when I was growing up, these were sparse. There were very few.
Yeah.
Learning about the history of Shreveport, there were actually a few that took place in Shreveport in the late 90s, early 2000s. The old Isle of Capri Casino hosted a few. There was a tour that went around that was at the old Stageworks building when that was Expo Hall that had Peter Mayhew and I think Anthony Daniels was on that one. It was basically the guys of Star Wars, the guys that were behind the masks. So they did a couple in town, and then this whole explosion around like 2012, maybe 2015, somewhere in that range. Like we were right as things were kind of spilling over. We just happened to step into the world of it. Markets this size do have Comic-Con events, and Comic-Con itself is a weird term because Big C Comic-Con, there's only one. There's San Diego Comic-Con International. They actually own the rights to the name. So when you use the name Comic-Con, you're at risk constantly of
trademark infringement. And all
yes,
that,
yeah. You're. They let a lot of it go. Sometimes they put their foot down. There was a big fight in Salt Lake City about 10 years ago now. San Diego won that. So you have to be careful using that. For us, in the initial planning stages, the idea of a Comic-Con per se isn't exactly what we are. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't want to get deep into the weeds on that. We didn't want to be like just a Comic-Con. This market doesn't really... This market, pound for pound, is a really geeky place.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the amount of game stores and comic book stores that this market supports, pound for pound, geekiest place I've ever seen. But at the same time, this type of market can't support a gigantic, huge Fan Expo Dallas type event. Last year, we stress tested a little bit to see how far we could push things. We learned a lot of lessons last year. But that explosion was markets this size. It was Dallas. It was everything in between. There was a bubble. The bubble was about to burst. Then it got burst. COVID just did it. Yeah. So in the aftermath of that, it culled the herd. But there are still shows in markets this size. They're structured a little bit differently now. They don't have exactly... It's like music festivals. Like you watch now, music festivals are dropping like flies across the country. And it's the same principles. You have high expensive venues. You have high expensive insurance. The talent is extremely expensive. Flights are extremely expensive. Hotels are expensive. Food is expensive. So when you start stacking those things on one another, it doesn't matter if you're a music festival or a Comic-Con, your costs are really high and your margins are really tight. So
that's what my question always has been. I was like, and another thing is what you guys you're continuing to grow every year and push the boundaries. But like, when you see something like that, being on my side of like the marketing, I'm just like, dude, I can only imagine what something like this costs. Like, not to mention if you're rolling the dice in this market because it's scary. But you guys have continued because you'll see something good come along here and then it just fizzles out because it's not enough continued support. There's always great ideas, but you really got to have the support to make it last.
Shreveport is one of the most gratifying markets I've ever worked in, but partially because it's one of the toughest markets I've ever worked in. Like this, you hear things like notoriously walk up or
that's 100% us.
Oh,
it's so bad. We were just talking about that on another. I'm not putting it out there because it's not my place to do so. But we're just talking about that on another upcoming event where it's going to be an issue and some things may be moving around.
It already is an issue.
Yeah. And I'm just like, the people planning these types of things, they need to listen. If someone says, hey, this is what you're looking at, you're going to have last week's sellout issues. Like that's what happens, in this market.
If we go back to the original, like the origins of this, and it plays a little bit into the grand scheme of the comic book atmosphere. We benefit from the fact that we're here. Like, I live here. Everybody that's on my crew lives here. If we screw up, I can't run away.
Yeah,
I hear about it. If we were to make a mess of a situation, I have to clean it up. So that changes compared to a lot of other places that are, I don't want to say fly by night, but they are a team and a crew who has nobody local. They literally fly into the city, meet with the venue, put up a couple of posters, find a street team, and then get back on the plane and head out until it's the week of the show. And then they show up and they start loading in. It works for really big, well-oiled machines, but if you're not in for the grind on it, and you don't know your market, and every market is different. Coming from a radio background, where, you know, I spent a decade plus doing music testing research, and I can tell you that not every market is the same as far as even what songs they want to hear. When you do music research and the song that was in this past market that was like the number one testing song, and then you come to the new market and this market's like, we don't even know who this is. So if you don't know your market and you're not dialed in, you can come in throwing some crazy stuff at the wall and just expecting either this talent is going to work, this price point is going to work, this many tickets will get moved, or the inverse, you could plan an event and see your advanced ticket sales 2 weeks out and go, now we'll be fine, we're under capacity by this much, it'll be all right, we'll sell at the door. And then the day before, you suddenly realize that we're buttoned up against fire code right now. Yeah. And you make the decision not to change that. Yeah. So if you're up against fire code, you've got 20 more tickets to sell, but you choose not to publicly state, guys, we're out of tickets, we're sold out. And you leave those doors open. And you get a line of people that stretches 2.5 miles down the road, and you have no way to get those people in. That, somebody could say, oh, that's a great problem to have. No. It can be a great problem to have,
but not in a market that's, if it happens randomly in one market, then it's like, that's your one chance, right, to convert those people.
Well, yeah. Like they forever are going to have that. Yeah. They're going to remember that. Yeah. And like when you walk away in a scenario like this, personal experience, you see like a kid in a Superman costume crying with their dad as their dad is explaining to them that they've been waiting for 8 hours and they're not getting to the thing that they were planning to go to all day and they sat through a thunderstorm for. You got to go like, we got to fix this. Yeah. We got to try to find a way to make this better. So knowing your market is really important. And that doesn't get across with the social media world today and the landscape of everyone is connected all the time. That's all well and good, but if you don't know the people that you're talking to, that you're relying on being your door swing or your ticket buyer, and you're talking over their head or you're making them feel like it ain't gonna work. Yeah, you miss the mark and it's game over.
Yeah, because I've been involved in a lot of different markets, but this is always the weirdest one in my experience. And working in other markets, it's just like almost like, hey, you can copy and paste.
Yep.
Whether it be an event, a concert, or whatever, you can copy and paste this in. Whether it's this is how your assets are going to go out. This is how your conversions are going to be. This is where you're going to market stuff, and you can copy. Here, it's not that. It's so complex. We were just having this conversation. Coulter Wall just dropped his. I got an email earlier. Well, I just went ahead and snatched that up because I know that's going to sell in a heartbeat. But if you get another artist like Gary Clark Jr., I was there half full.
Yep.
It's like disappointing because like that dude sells out everywhere else. Like it's very interesting how that happens.
There are elements here that are different than a lot of other places, not just because of, like, you can say, oh, look at the makeup of the market, but it's not even that, because you can go to other markets with similar makeups and things work, and they don't work here. And it's I don't want anyone to take this as a negative. No, I don't want people to think this is. I
like the challenge. Yeah.
It is just it's a circumstance.
It's complex, man.
Of what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
There are other markets where it's a 3-foot gimme putt.
Yeah.
And this one happens to not be one of those. New Orleans is a place that it's got the exact same thing. It is very finicky. You might say, oh, New Orleans, that's a slam dunk. And then you go to an event in New Orleans that you get your hotel and you pay money to travel there and you've got your tickets to the event and you show up and it's 20% full. This is New Orleans. This should be easy, but it's not. And I've heard people tell stories of Vegas being the same way, but that's a competition level thing. It's not really competition here. It's just.
I think it's like it's a loyalty thing or a network thing. Like you almost have to make these people, like, you just have to create a relationship with them.
Community.
Yes, it's community. Like you have to create a relationship with them. Once you do, whatever you do, they will be there.
Yeah.
But you have to get it right on that first swing.
Yeah, and if you don't, you have to cop to it really quick.
Say,
like,
hey, we messed up, we're going to make it.
Screwed up. Yeah. That was on us.
Yeah.
And not just here. There's a lack of that overall. But, like, thankfully we haven't screwed up too bad on anything, so we haven't had to do that. I mean, we've never had an event that goes 100% smooth across the board. So we've always got something that we have to say I'm sorry for.
Yeah, of course.
But when you do an event this scale, I mean, it's just going to happen. Nobody's ever going to walk away completely happy. But we have had times where somebody's not happy, and I try really hard to make that, what can I do to make this better? What literally tell me right now? The answer is yes. Now how? Like, if we can figure out what changes this right now, I'm going to do everything in my power to do it. Now, if you tell me $1 million, that's going to be a problem. But if it's something that's reasonable, realistic, I will go physically do whatever it is right now, and we'll make this better. Like, there are places where just tough luck, kid. But I'm maybe it's the Midwest in me, but if I can make this right this second, I'm going to do it.
Well, tell me how you got into radio, I guess, into your industry.
So this is another one of those long ago tales. We can dial it all the way back to my high school, where we had a job shadow program. Like, half class credit, you had to do a job shadow. The joke used to be that it was down to either a radio station or a county deputy, and the deputy said I couldn't play with the gun, so I went to the radio station. I literally showed up at a radio station. It was WKHQ, 106 KHQ in northern Michigan. I showed up that afternoon to go on the air with the guy who was the afternoon jock and the program director. This is my hometown market, my hometown station, like one of these stations that I listened to from my childhood. By the time, so I thought I was just going to sit there and like watch what happened. He immediately was like, if you're in my studio, you're on the air. Turns on the microphone, banter back and forth, all well and good, whatever. I was a theater kid a little bit. The end of the shift, he comes back in with a job application and hands it to me. And he's like, bring this back and we'll start you this weekend. So my first gig was playing American Top 40 Countdown with Casey Kasem Sunday mornings on KHQ. And I would do the weather updates. And this was long ago. We had old plastic carts. They were like basically big versions of cassettes, like 8 tracks, where you had to go record on the metallic strip. You had to clean it off, record the metallic strip, then plug it in. And when it was time for the weather report, press the button to play the weather, snap it back, play the CD for American Top 40. And I did that while I was in high school. And they eventually gave me an air shift on Sunday nights. I did that and like had the idea at some points that like I was going to go to college, I was going to play football, I was going to do all that stuff. Like as soon as I was done, I got a full-time job right out of high school with a rock radio station doing a little country. Did mornings there. Got a chance to go back to KHQ, which is again my hometown station. Like that was a big break for me. Things played their way into where I was the program director, which is now brand manager, but I was in charge of the station and doing the mornings. We had our first #1 book in however long. I was like 20. I couldn't even celebrate with a drink. Made some dumb moves throughout the way. Thought I was more important than I was. Took a detour into a couple tours of duty in sales. And then eventually, 2008 housing crash, Michigan was hit really bad. So even though I thought that I was going to be able to make this a just hometown thing my whole life, if I was going to continue down this path, I had to find somewhere else. Happened to find it in Wisconsin. Went to Wausau, Wisconsin. I started out country. The first time ever doing like full-time country. I had done a little bit of country before, but got thrown to the wolves in a country world in what was a really dominant country market, big station. And they basically told me, we want to do your top 40 show on the country station. Okay, I'll just play with the phones. So literally just, doing all that stuff. They launched a rock station. They knew I had rock background. They said, we'd like you to be a part of this. That turned into, we'd like you to run this. We started that station in September of 2010. And by 2013, we had won the Wisconsin Broadcast Association Award for the Station of the Year. We won a bunch of other awards. We won 2 national rock radio awards, including Station of the Year. just that 2013 was a massive year for that station. That also led to job offers and looking at other opportunities. There was always a draw to Louisiana for some weird reason. Like
Had you ever been here before? Or?
Yeah, New Orleans.
Okay, yeah,
but
of course.
But
yeah,
you don't realize how different New Orleans is from like literally everything else in the state. And this isn't like a North Louisiana, South Louisiana thing.
No,
just get outside of like once you pass any part of what feels like New Orleans, different world.
Yeah.
But that's where we had. So I flew down for my first experience in Shreveport. Within the first like 12 hours of being in town, I'm in a Mardi Gras den watching people build floats. I'm at a Waffle House, end up having a great steak, have some great local beer. Like everything was just like, I got on the phone with my wife the first night, or maybe it was even the second night, and I just said, I think this is it. I think this is it. So we packed up like the Clampetts and moved wife and 3 kids. You can call it cross country. I mean, we went from central Wisconsin to Louisiana. That's we've made the drive home a couple of times. It's a trek. So, but we ended up here 2015 January 2nd. We pulled into town, getting ready to go on 10 years here.
Nice.
Bounced around a bunch of stations here. I think I've been on 5 stations now
really?
here. Yeah.
Well, so. Yeah, I wasn't sure what your background was. I mean, I knew it was radio, but I didn't know, exactly where you were from. But
yeah,
what would you say, like, the biggest part of so what you guys do with the Geek'd Con thing, like, the biggest part of it, like, is cosplay coming into, like, I feel like that's, like, becoming a huge thing in itself.
Oh, yeah.
Like, aside from, like, that's always been something that shows up to Comic-Con events and stuff like that, but that stuff's becoming something so much larger than, just an attendance of events.
One of my big pitches with this event from the beginning is everyone's a little geeky. Like I run across a lot of people who just absolutely no, I'm not. When you're talking to like businesses about sponsoring and stuff, like our clients aren't. That's not our target.
Yeah, they don't.
And you get to talking to them, and it's like, okay, you ever watch The Walking Dead? I love The Walking Dead. Like, okay, if you rush home to watch The Walking Dead on Sunday nights, that's based on a comic book by Robert Kirkman. Congratulations, you're a geek.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever gone to see a Marvel movie in the theater? Do you like Star Wars? Were you into Game of Thrones? Like, all of this geek stuff is so mainstream now that we all... The biggest movie of the summer is going to be Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Dude, I'm so excited.
And
so
like
excited.
that's a game changer, and it's going to make so much money. Obviously, people are going to see it, and that is a straight up comic book movie. And it's like, how do you deny that this is a thing? And when you get into the world, then you start to see, like, just being at the event and seeing people from all walks of life, doctors, lawyers, baristas, everybody all in the same place doing the same thing. And then you add cosplay into it, and you've got people who, like, 6-figure a year type people that you would say, like, oh, that person's not a geek at all. And you show up and they've got like a movie articulate Doctor Strange gear.
Yeah,
like
they spent thousands of like building
either thousands of dollars or thousands of hours, sometimes
building.
a combination of both.
Yeah.
We've got some folks, one of them that we're bringing on this year, John, has been just one of the best cosplayers I've ever seen. He's going to be a guest for us this year. He's won our cosplay contest a couple of times. He built a Nuka-Cola from Fallout.
Oh, shit. Okay,
it's a Nuka-Cola, like, it's power armor from the show, but it's a Nuka-Cola cooler. So it literally, like, opens up and has Nuka-Colas in it, and he's inside this suit. Last year, he built a cosplay that's the mayor from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay.
And you just see a box, and the mayor built up on top of it. And the head turns around and everything. And you look at this box, and it looks like somebody just carved it out of marble, and it's sitting there, and all of a sudden it starts moving. Somebody's in that thing. How is that possible? And I don't know for sure that he debuted it at Geek'd Con, but I think it was the first time he ever rolled it out was at our show. And the amount of people that just stop, like, in their tracks to see this thing because it's so good. And just the mind to be able to say, I know how I can build that to where I can be in that and it can look like that and move like that. So after he had it at Geek'd Con, he took it over to Dallas, and I think this was earlier this year, and they had like Danny Elfman, the guy who did all the music and sang as Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas, and Chris Sarandon was there. We've had him here too. He's the speaking voice of Jack Skellington, and they both, from their booths, saw him, stopped what they were doing, and got up to go take a picture. So Danny Elfman stops him to take pictures with him, the same way that all these people just paid thousands of dollars to meet Danny Elfman. Yeah. Now he is going to meet this cosplayer because he saw the cosplay and had to have a picture of it. So then he put it on his socials. Like, cosplay has gotten so big that the celebrities are into the cosplay now.
And that's cool. It's like where the fan can give back. Kind of thing, and show their artistic creation,
and you see it a lot too.
Dude, I've just seen some stuff on. I'm just like, whoa, like how did they do that?
Yeah,
and I'm a huge Marvel nerd, but I have been since like forever. I mean, X-Men, like when X-Men 97 just dropped here.
Yeah,
that's the shit I watched when I was a kid.
I haven't brought myself to watch 97.
I haven't either.
I got this weird block where like the X-Men cartoon from the 90s was so formative in my life.
I watched it. Yeah, it was amazing.
That I'm so afraid.
That and Ninja Turtles, bro. Like,
Ninja Turtles,
those two things.
Real Ghostbusters.
Dragon Ball Z,
I was
later in.
Yeah, I never really got all the way into Dragon Ball Z.
But that's a whole nother subculture.
Yeah, the anime is so.
I don't know anything about that. Like that's a whole other thing, man.
And even when you get into that, like I've hosted some of our panels locally. Yeah. I've also gone to other markets and other shows and hosted some of their panels. And when you get into the anime area, like they have their own conventions because it's so big now. Big, yeah. And then even within that, you have sub versus dub. You have so do you listen to the American dub or do you listen to the original Japanese recording and read subtitles?
Okay.
And that is a massive fight.
Oh,
like the fact that they break it down that hardcore. And, like, I enjoy the anime style. Pokemon was the anime that I really, like, if you pick an anime that I was really into.
That's the only one I was into, I would say. Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon younger than Dragon Ball Z a little bit. But, like, we would, like, I never, like, even the Pokemon thing, I never did the card thing. I never played the game. I just collected them. And, dude, I wish I knew where they were at. 'Cause I don't even know, but, like, I'll probably be sitting on $500,000.
Those holofoil Charizards that are like $50,000 now.
I had that stuff.
Yeah, I think we all did.
It's like a punch to the gut. Like, what did I do with this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a collector and a reseller, so like if we go down my dark rabbit hole of all of the things that I sold before the peak of like.
So I've gotten into UFC cards. Okay. Only because I'm well read into MMA, and so. I just have a lot and I find good deals and I'm holding them. I have them set at prices, but I'm not opening boxes. I don't have time to do all that shit. But I have an amount of like ones that I've met people and I can get signed and graded and I'm just holding them and I'll have them set at a price. And if someone meets that price, cool. If not, like I even have some Power Ranger stuff.
That all sounds really geeky, man.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I know. I'll admit it, bro. I'll admit it. Like I probably never talked about it on here, but yeah, I have some stuff like that. But no one would think that of me, but I do have that stuff. I have that stuff sitting there, and then, but Marvel, I would openly every single these spin-off little things on the Disney networks and stuff. No, but like every single blockbuster film, I'm a big part of, and like I love to watch the storyline.
And that's the cool thing is that everyone has like their level, their limit.
They're like how they're all in, or I'm just like
And there's no right or wrong. Like there's no. I have a big problem with gatekeepers and like the whole gatekeeping mentality. And you see it a lot in this. You see it a lot in music where. Oh really? You love that? Well, tell me what their first appearance is.
Yeah, dude.
Or oh yeah, you love that? Tell me their first 3 songs.
Why can't you just like something, man?
Just let people don't make people feel bad for liking something. Like and I'm sure a little bit of it. Like growing up, I had the benefit of bigger kid playing sports. Nobody was really going to make fun of me for like Pokemon cards. So.
There could be some animosity, like there's some underlying animosity from
there's a little bit of it. But I view it as like you should be happy if everyone is into what you're into now. Yeah. Because it wasn't super cool when I was a kid. To me and my close friends, it was super cool. But there's a whole bunch of kids.
We didn't talk about it in front of everyone.
No, there were a whole bunch of kids I was playing sports with where if you told them that afterwards you were going to your friend's house to go through your Pokemon binders to trade some cards, they would totally be out on that. But that's what we did. And now you have either they've grown into it and they're able to admit like, yeah, I'm into this, or somebody just has to explain to them like that show that you love on TV, it's based on a comic book.
Yeah.
They get into it through that way, or they're kids now where
that's interesting to see too, where it's like recycled and like you can participate because my kids love the Marvel stuff. They love the Pokemon cards. And I'm like, yeah. And they'll ask me like, what's that worth? And I'll look them up, and we have fun doing that. Like, and I'll take them to the little card shows, let them get some stuff. And I may find me like a good, like maybe a graded, UFC card or something I'll snatch. But like, yeah, it is cool to see that to be recycled, because our parents didn't have that. There were comic books, but that was even still a very, very slim market.
Which I do appreciate that my dad was a big Superman guy. He was not. He's a big hunter. He's a fisherman. Yeah. He's not. But Death of Superman in the early 90s, like he went out of his way to find it on a newsstand and bought the poly bag, black bag, Death of Superman, because it was such like a big. Because when he was a kid, he would read Superman books. Yeah. It was actually when they were younger versus when we were younger, it was actually probably more accessible. Because like when I was a kid growing up, I had to go an hour and a half to a comic book store.
Yeah, we didn't have any. Well, even around here, I think there was, but we were in like rural areas and like. There were maybe one, I think Excalibur's been here a long time. But yeah.
So like you had to drive to go. It was 30, a destination.
45 minutes. You're going to have to get
For me, most of my comic book reading as a kid was through subscriptions that Marvel would do. They'd put a little postcard in the back of some of the books, and then you'd be able to fill it out at home, send a $25 check, get a year's worth of books. And my aunt supplied me through the mail with a lot of books. But like when he was a kid, he could go to like the local grocery store, and there was the literal news rack where a nickel, 10 cents, you can take a Superman comic home, and you didn't care about it. So like once you read it, they used to put baseball cards in the spokes of their bikes.
Yeah.
Like we are worried about like keeping it collectible afterwards.
And corners and all
so the access that they had where they were readily available to just go get a Superman comic, read that, buy gum and get cards with it, and whatever you do with those afterwards, we don't care. So like the ease of access was better. Then when I was growing up, it was a lot of destination stuff. Like you had to know and plan that you were going here to get this. So like when I was a kid and all of a sudden like Batman was a little bit before like I
How old are you?
38.
Okay.
So
I'm 35, so we're close.
Batman was like the 89 Tim Burton one.
Yeah.
Was in theaters and everything already before I kind of started to get like wrapping my head around it. But when all of a sudden like Batman Forever comes out, and I feel like I'm in that wheelhouse, like they made this movie for me. Jim Carrey's already one of my guys.
Yeah,
and
then you got Arnold Schwarzenegger coming, like, and all that.
Oh yeah, then Batman and Robin drops, and you got like, oh man,
oh, that's the next one, right? Forever's the one with
Forever is Tommy Lee Jones as and
Jim Carrey's the Riddler.
Yep.
And then the next one would be where
was Uma Thurman as
that was Mel Gibson, right?
Well, no. So it was Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, and it was Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. Val Kilmer was the Batman in Batman Forever. George Clooney was the Batman in Batman and Robin.
I said Mel Gibson, I meant George Clooney, yeah. But yeah.
So, sorry, total nerd. And then we can get into bat nipples and all that stuff if we need to. But Alicia Silverstone was also with Chris O'Donnell and George Clooney.
Best Catwoman.
Oh, man.
Right now, come on.
So this is so.
Come on, man.
Whenever I do like best Mount Rushmores and stuff, I always start to ask for, and this is like my ADHD.
Oh, you're gonna go
and,
into like what?
I need to know
scenario?
my parameters. I need to know.
If best Catwoman, if like for what it is,
Eartha
100%
Kitt.
authentic.
Eartha Kitt, Adam West Batman series TV.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. So like old school.
Yeah.
Oh, I was talking about like our lifetime.
But okay.
But yeah,
our lifetime. Yeah. I actually I think Anne Hathaway did a really good job as the Selena Kyle version of it, because she was so perfectly gray in the idea that like you hate her but you like her.
Yeah, I can see that. She played both sides of the fence.
Yeah, she's that like Michelle Pfeiffer. She gets a ton of credit for like the whip scene being one of those scenes that was shot one time. Like she just did it when she takes the heads off the mannequins. But her version of Selena Kyle, like that movie is weird to begin with.
Well, it's just Tim Burton behind it. So
I mean it's a Tim Burton movie, but like her version of Selena Kyle, I'm really burnt out on the I take my glasses off, and now all of a sudden I'm a supermodel.
Like, see, that's why I like having conversations like this, because like I'm like Michelle Pfeiffer all the way, just because that's what I grew up. I watched was like,
Right,
dude, this
yeah.
is, and then you see the other ones, but you appreciate them for what they are. Like, so if we're talking your lifetime Batman, I mean, is it between Christian Bale and
this is a tough one,
and Michael Keaton?
So
or is it between, like, where are we at on this one? Because I need to know.
So there's two separates here, because there's Batman and there's Bruce Wayne, because the same one isn't the same answer for both. So
ooh, I think I like where you're going here.
The best Bruce Wayne is Michael Keaton. He's the best Bruce Wayne. The best Batman is Christian Bale, although I will wait and reserve judgment to see what Robert Pattinson does, because what he did blew me away.
I was so surprised. I thought I was going to hate it. I really did.
I'm
like Twilight to Batman.
I think I tweeted something very similar to this statement. I was so wrong on Heath Ledger when that was cast. I will not say the same thing about Robert Pattinson.
Got you.
Because when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, I wrote that off as
a shoe-in kind of thing.
The guy from Brokeback Mountain, the Knight's Tale guy. Yeah. There's no way the Joker's not going to work. We saw Batman Begins. How are they going to do that theme, that style with this guy? And when he blasted onto the scene in that movie, I think I saw The Dark Knight close to 100 times in theaters. That is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I saw that movie in theaters that held 1,000 people. I saw that in a movie theater in Ironwood, Michigan, just over the Wisconsin border in the UP, Gibbet County, that maybe sat 12 people. It was basically someone's large living room. And I went and watched the movie in that because my wife's uncle had not seen it yet.
Gotcha.
So I was like, grab the keys.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Isn't it funny when you watch something like that and you're so passionate about it that you're like trying to point out things to them when you just need to you want to let them experience, but at the same time you're like, well, or have a conversation afterwards was like, well,
I need to break it down.
Let me break this down for you.
And my wife hates it. She doesn't like movies, which is probably why
my wife does not like any of those types of movies, but I break it down to kids and they love it. They think I'm the coolest ever.
Oh, the kids and I have long conversations and we'll do the rankings. My youngest son is getting way too deep into baseball now. And so he wants to talk to me all the time about like Mount Rushmore Yankees third basemen.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, what are my parameters? Are we talking like Civil Rights Awards, or are we talking like I write off anything pre-Jackie Robinson. Like I write Babe Ruth out of I don't include him in my best of list.
Okay.
It's an incomplete. He doesn't get an A grade. He gets an incomplete grade.
It's interesting how you are sitting on both sides, because a lot of times there's either full on like comic geek nerd or full on sports guy. You seem to be both. I don't participate in much of either, other than the few things I told you. But like, I don't know shit about sports. I know fighting. So like anything fighting, I'll sit here. We could go back. But when you say, dude, I know the mainstream guys. I don't watch any sports religiously other than fighting, and it's like, dude, I wish I was that into it, because it's like every single day. If you're into those like football, basketball, baseball, there's a game every single day.
Yep.
Every year.
Absolutely love. I'm a huge baseball nerd. So growing up, like I loved baseball. That was my sport. I wish I was better at baseball. Yeah. But football was what I was just better at.
Yeah.
So like growing up, I traveled for Little League All-Stars in baseball. Got to high school to play football. I don't remember. Like I got a bunch of varsity letters and stuff.
Do that up there.
All right. I mean, I played a lot of sports. And through playing sports, of course, you fall in love with a lot of the stuff. But even like I ran track, did shot put, discus,
really?
Couldn't name like a shot putter.
Yeah.
Like I don't know any.
Yeah.
But like baseball, like growing up in that era of the 90s, it was like we always tried to emulate like a Jeff Bagwell stance, or like you wanted to pitch like Hideo Nomo. So like playing baseball made me close to that sport in a way that you
appreciate and carry on. Like that makes sense, because that's how I was with fighting. I was involved with it for so long and doing it for so long, training and fighting. Like now I just keep a passion for it, but like I watched baseball, I played baseball, I was never great. I played it because all my friends played it, and that was like the thing to do. But I never was passionate about it, so I never really wanted to do the extra work to be great. But
maybe thinking about it now, I was never really passionate about track. It was just kind of like a filler. Like,
yeah, I did.
We just did it to did it.
I did it. I think I did the 1 mile and 2 mile.
That
was interesting.
The only thing I ran was the 4x800.
Yeah,
and I think we still have the school record.
Really?
Yeah.
So you can move a little bit.
Oh,
huh?
we could.
Well-rounded,
I came out of the blocks because I was a lineman too.
Yeah.
So come out, stay low.
Yeah.
And then we had our wide receiver, our running back, and our DB. Was
so y'all doubled down. So on the off season, you were doing track. Too.
That's where track started. Was this was going to be like the off season program,
right?
But then I was like, well, I want to play baseball too, and they were essentially like, well, you could do both.
Yeah.
I was like, really? They're like, yeah, just show up for the track meets. It's fine. Like, oh, okay. So played baseball like all week. Saturday, showed up to the track meet.
Track is like the most nonchalant training. Like, it's like you're either good at this or you're not.
Yeah,
like any of the programs I was involved in, it was like there's not that much direction. What do you want to run? Okay.
I take that back. There was some serious shot put, footwork, and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I did a lot of that in middle school, though. So by the time I got to high school, it was just like, you knew what you were doing.
See, we didn't have track in middle school. We didn't have it until high school. I tried some pole vaulting, but I just wasn't.
Oh, I did that one.
It was rough.
I did that one time and made contact with the pit with my lower back, and that was the last time I ever did that.
Yeah.
That was dumb. Hey, let's get the lineman to do pole vault. Let's see if it works. Why not? Let's try it. Dumb idea.
Oh, dude. No, I think it's cool though. I think it's cool how someone can be so well rounded, and you can have conversations with every walk of life when it comes to entertainment, sports, whatever it may be. Because that is funny. We started talking about and like going down those rabbit holes because, dude, I really can go down them, and then I check myself. I'm like, oh shit, I have more opinions about these things. Than I really thought I did, and I guess it's just because of what I like, and so like, but I'll see that shit like. I'll get random ads, suggestions for me to join groups, but I won't join them because I'm like, I don't have time to get into like looking at this. But I'll see the ads for like joining these Marvel fan groups or whatever, just because I watched a Deadpool trailer or I watched a fake trailer that I thought was real. And so then I'll get these things like you join suggestions or whatever, and I'll see people in there arguing, dude.
Oh yeah,
about the craziest shit. Like, all the way down to. So mad the storyline was adjusted from the original comic and just all this stuff. It's hilarious.
You want to see the worst of all those worlds? Professional wrestling.
Oh,
professional!
I love it, dude. It's
love
hilarious.
Pro wrestling.
Did you grow up watching like?
I grew up
like
with
Stone Cold and like.
So I actually
are you a little before then.
I was before then.
Like
I grew
Hulkamania,
up. Yeah, like
Saturday
mornings. I think it was TNT. Whoever it was would do like the Saturday morning packages where they would shoot the videos from all of the house shows from that week, and then they would splice in Mean Gene doing the interviews, and so you'd get caught up on everything. And little Hulkamaniac. I had my wrestling buddies. I had an Ultimate Warrior wrestling buddy. I always wanted the Ted DiBiase one, but never got it because you always want to beat up the bad guy. Like, you didn't so. But then rode that wave right into the Monday Night Wars and Stone Cold and The Undertaker and the NWO. There were so many nights that was hit the VCR in one room because you're watching this other one. So you like, is it Nitro tonight or is it? And
they were at war with each other forever.
83 weeks.
Was like, and they had people like how long?
83 weeks is how
you're well read into this.
Well, 83 weeks is a pretty common. Term because that's the amount of weeks that WCW beat Monday Night Raw.
Okay.
So Nitro beat them for 83 consecutive weeks, and then once the C changed, it was over. But yeah, I am way too deep. I'm a huge mark.
That's awesome though. That's awesome because I love it. I'm not into. I'm starting to get back into it. I saw something the other day where Netflix is making a deal.
Yeah, Netflix will have
Triple H and
they'll have basically. I think starting January 1, they'll have Raw, SmackDown, NXT.
Uncensored.
Yeah, they're going back that direction.
Dude, I love it.
They've already started a little bit of that.
I can't wait to get my kids to watch it. I'm just like,
so it's probably never gonna be
what it was.
Because
that was the original form of it. You can't, you know what I mean? Like,
well, the '90s were just so different.
Yeah,
like we could do so much more. The '90s were the best decade.
Isn't
of all
that
time.
crazy? Like, there was so many restrictions on certain things, and then on the flip side, it was like, holy shit. Like, you couldn't get a CD, like in a store without parental advisory.
You couldn't go to Walmart and get
couldn't get an
a
M&M,
not clean copy.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You couldn't get anything like that, but you could watch that, and
Yep.
they would let it fly.
Yep. And now if you tried to put something like that on TV, it would be all over the internet. Like, it would be so bad. And I was talking to my kid about this. It's cyclical, I think. So maybe we'll get back to a point where there is something like that available. It probably won't be available on any kind of publicly traded platform. Yeah. But, like, there will be something that comes up online that, like, could potentially rival. And it might already be out there. It's just so niche that we don't see it. But we'll probably never see a publicly traded. And WWE is publicly traded. Yeah. And they're actually now Endeavor Media. So it's the UFC.
They also own the UFC as well.
Yeah. So you're probably never going to see that same kind of programming because there's investors, and whenever there's investors, there's
agendas, and there's things that you have.
There's feelings, and so But I'm not that I'm saying that's all bad, and it's a nuanced, deep rabbit hole where some things shouldn't be done anymore. But at the same time, we all knew what we were getting into. Everyone knew what was going on. Dude, we were all signed up for it.
I would get so excited, bro. That was like running to the living room.
Oh yeah, God, what time is it right now? I have to be there right now.
That's another thing we take for granted, and I think that's another thing you'll never be able to duplicate, because streaming platforms now we can just access at any time. It was the build up. The build up. It's like they leave a cliffhanger there, and then you have to wait a whole other week.
Yeah.
And it's the storyline, it's the build up, it's
And I think you can get back to that, and that's why
you have to be disciplined. We didn't have a choice before. It's like you didn't have an option.
For a serialized show, that's you'll binge that all day long,
right?
But there are a few shows like Game of Thrones is still good at that with the even the new version where it's you gotta wait.
The Boys
is another one. You gotta wait. Yeah. But that's why I think that pro wrestling has a more direct line to being able to duplicate that again, because it's like a sport, where it's it is a live performance. So you have to see what it is, and if you're the same thing that's killing serialized TV is the same thing that's making sports even more of an in the moment now, can't miss this because I need to tweet and share my immediate reaction to what I just witnessed. Yeah. So social media has killed some aspects of it and made something like wrestling or football or UFC that much more in demand, in the moment, live, must see now, because you have to react to it now.
Yeah, immediately.
If I don't react to this in this 30 minutes,
that makes sense.
My friends are going to think I'm not watching.
We were going to school the next day and talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, did you see that? Whatever. The guys, middle-aged guys are going to work and talking about it, and so but that was the next day. Now you're in the moment, you have to do it immediately, and then no one cares after 24 hours because something totally different happened.
Well, and back in the day, you would have that whole week. So you would talk about it right away, and then you'd start fantasy booking with your friends. All right, well, what if they do this? Yeah. Oh man, this is gonna. So you would really get into it, and now, that's where those groups come in.
Yeah,
you find those Facebook groups where people are fighting for a whole week because they want to see this take place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But for the serialized shows, it's just kind of died. Sitcoms are dead.
And even trying to move them to streaming platforms are dead. They're just not. They're not there. We don't want that anymore.
I wonder, and I have this thought with a lot of things, TV ratings back in the day. How many people actually were watching? We were told it was these many millions.
Is that kind of like radio ratings too?
Yeah.
I'm just messing with you, man.
Yes, but not able to legally discuss.
Yeah.
But I was talking about it with home runs, because I was watching the home run derby, and some of those hits were so far. And I've watched a few games where these home runs are so far that back in the day they would tell us that was a 500-foot home run, and now they come up with a StatCast Google instantaneous laser focused that was 463 at a 33-degree angle, left the bat at. So, like, how many times back in the day were we lied to?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And told that was a 500-foot home run when really,
for sure,
today it's being called like a 460-foot. So we're like, where'd all the 500-foot home runs go? This sucks. We're not seeing what we saw. But they're actually doing the same thing.
Yeah.
We were just lied to then. So, like, when we see a sitcom fail, is it really failing, or back in the day where we just told a different number and now it's probably more realistic?
Yeah, and there's not that much competition back then either. You had like
that's true. Yeah, if we go way back when there were like networks, 3 channels,
major networks. It's like you're watching. What are you watching? Home Improvement, or whatever.
But just even in the '90s when it was like, well, Friends is viewed by 20 million people this week. Was it really, or like, did you talk to 20 million people?
The reruns were like, I feel like that's where they got all their.
Because you probably talked to 200 people and extrapolated that number across like a huge number, and you probably went back and talked to the same 200 people because you knew they were going to answer the phone. So was it really that big, or was it math?
Yeah,
but
favorite wrestler. Since we got, I know we're gonna have to get detailed here. So,
all right,
your lifetime WCW favorite.
Okay. WCW favorite?
Yeah, and then we'll go WWF.
Ooh, it might have been Kevin Nash.
Okay,
because I did enjoy the NWO. I was not a Goldberg guy.
I wasn't either. My stepdad was, and we'd have an argument about it.
I wasn't really a Sting guy.
Oh, dude, I was there for it.
I like the NWO, but I didn't like. I never really liked Hogan because I was always cheering for an underdog, and I always felt like he was on top. Kevin Nash had the Diesel stuff that I remembered from the HBK run in WWE, so I knew exactly who he was. I knew he was from Michigan. So I think Kevin Nash was probably my WCW guy. Unless we count David Arquette. World champion David Arquette. No, probably Kevin Nash.
Okay. What about WWF or
WWF? We could break it down those two ways.
F, yeah.
We go F, it's probably Stone Cold. Triple H is in the conversation.
Dude, you can't even if I start considering anyone else, I still go back to Stone Cold.
The only thing that pulls me back from Stone Cold is that I'm such a mark that I start talking about like in-ring work. So
we're not.
if you get deep, because if you're talking about like
you're talking about full-on performance and everything.
Yeah. So if you're talking about everything included, The Rock has to be in that conversation. But he's a guy where
it's similar to like the Hulk Hogan scenario, right? It's like he's become so like.
It's actually different. The thing that I have, and it's not against him, but like against rating him too high, is in our eyes, because we were living it, we felt like he was there the whole time. But if you ever go back and look at the years that The Rock was there, it's actually not a long period of time. His run was not that deep. And so should he be on the Mount Rushmore for a 5 or 6 year period? Maybe not.
Yeah. That's where things like this get so interesting, man. Because like then you can go into hours and hours of conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Because then you start considering, and then when someone argues with you, then you're like, well, hold on. Now that I'm thinking about it, you said that. But then it's like, how complex do you want to go? You know,
how deep do we want? And that's why I try to preface before we start.
That makes sense.
What are we looking at?
Because I could do the same thing. Because then you start making me question my decision. I'm like, well, hold on a minute. Now that you said that, I may not like him as much as I used to.
Well, because like immediately in my head when I start like. We got to talk about The Undertaker a little bit here.
Oh, I love The Undertaker. But I always loved Kane. I love Kane more than Undertaker because we were playing the video games too.
Oh, so that plays into it.
And so it was like I liked him because they made him out to be Undertaker's brother, and he never took the mask off. When he took the mask off, I hated him. I was just like, I'm done. I was outgrown it by then, and, you know.
And I did the same thing. We all do like kind of that thing where like we watch it and then we dump it out for a little while. We go like learn to be an adult. And then at some point, like you kind of come back to it, and it has those little nostalgia hooks that get you a little bit. And it's always funny to have somebody like do the whole, it's fake, right? Oh, dude. Like, oh my God, no way, it's fake. Yeah. Oh man, all right, not watching that anymore. I'm gonna go back to watch The Walking Dead again because that is real.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if you watched the NFL over the last like 10 years or so, but that seems scripted too.
No, that was a big thing though when we were growing up. was having that argument and people getting mad.
I don't know that I can't remember a time where I ever really had like a deep, because I never got upset.
Well, me either, but
Like,
there were people that...
The people who were really upset seem to always be on the side of like, it's fake.
Yeah.
Admit it's fake.
Right,
yeah, it's fake.
yeah.
No, but it's fake. Why do you watch
Yeah.
it? Well, because it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's murder gymnastics. I enjoy it. Like, these guys are
Not to
doing...
mention, those dudes are athletes.
Oh,
Every
big
single
time.
one of them are
Huge.
athletes. Like, the amount of injuries that they've had is... Like, if you just listen to podcasts with, like, Ric Flair, like, oh, my God, like, dude, or look at Hulk Hogan, look how many surgeries and just look at these people. Like,
watch how a ring is constructed.
Yeah.
And then think about jumping. I mean, you don't even have to, like, as a 30-something-year-old dude, just put your shoes on, go to your couch, jump off your couch onto the floor, and see how your ankles and knees feel.
Yeah.
Now, imagine doing that onto plywood and a steel frame from a top buckle.
It has about that much bounce.
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
it's got
Just
some
a
bounce
little bit.
because they know.
Yeah, but it's not much. It's
They
just
know
like
they're not actually trying to kill one another.
Yeah,
they
but
need to be
it's
able
not
to.
much.
No, and it's wood underneath it,
Yeah.
and I don't think a lot of people have seen how it's constructed, and they think that it's like a trampoline.
Yeah, it's similar to a boxing ring, and we put a lot of those together and been in them, dude. And like, yeah, we're boxing in there, but we're not throwing each other down.
No, and that's why there's a little more give in those, but you're still
it's a lot.
coming off from a 6 or 7 foot jump.
Not to mention picking up a 300-something pound man in the air and throwing them down when you're a 200-pound man. Like, dude.
Or just the idea of coming off a top rope and doing a flip.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know a lot of people that could do that, and for them to like, oh, well, it's fake. There's nothing fake about doing that and then like dislocating your ankle when you land.
No.
Like, that ain't fake.
No.
So
Who's like Shawn Michaels, like one of the dude you have with the Hardy Boys.
Oh, the
Shawn
Hardy
Michaels
Boys.
with the
Oh.
flyers, dude, just fly.
Yeah,
just,
and
those guys are still almost 200 pounds. They're not small. They're small compared to everyone else, but they're
yeah, and now they have a lot smaller.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the luchador, Rey Mysterio type guys now.
And he was a pioneer too. Gosh.
But they're updating the arsenal. Like the things they're doing, they're not just coming off the top turnbuckle now. Now they're doing like a double jump off the top rope onto the outside, and like you're live. Like it's live TV.
You could die. Like
Big E from the New Day broke his neck. I want to say 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Just on a simple up and over, and he landed wrong, broke his neck. That can happen.
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio was in a match where a guy died. And yeah, those things. But it's live in the
Kevin Hart. What happened to him?
Kevin.
Was it Kevin
Oh,
Hart?
Owen Hart.
Owen Hart. Excuse
Owen
me.
Hart.
What happened to
Yeah.
Owen Hart?
So Owen Hart was coming out of the rafters at a pay-per-view back in like 96, 98, somewhere in that range. Maybe it was even later than that. He was the Blue Blazer at the time. He was in a harness to come down from the top ropes, and the harness released, and he fell into the ring and died.
Yeah. We all remember that. That was like a pivotal moment, and whenever everyone
that
happened.
Yeah.
We never rented the pay-per-views. I couldn't. Or you'd have to talk someone into it to get it at their house.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to see a lot of those.
We watched a lot on VHS tapes afterwards.
Yeah.
But that one was one that like immediately your friends that watched it, like, because they finished the pay-per-view and like announced it during the pay-per-view. So like your friends the next day were like, hey, did you see Owen Hart died last night? And it,
I don't know why I said Kevin Hart. I'm thinking Kevin, a comedian, dude. I don't know where that
Kevin Nash, Owen Hart,
yeah,
they
that's
came
what
together.
happened, yeah.
But we didn't have Google boxes in our pocket.
No.
So like you couldn't verify this information. Like you had to wait until like, well, maybe we'll get to computer lab today and I can use Netscape to see if this is real.
Yeah, that was like one of those things. Like, did Marilyn Manson really take his ribs?
Oh yeah.
Those,
like, I don't know how
a hoax or
I don't know how everybody across the country was in on the same like rumor, but
that's
like
one of those whisper in the classroom and it gets.
But like we had that rumor there, and people had that rumor here, and like we didn't have the internet yet. So when we all collectively got on the internet, that was one of the first questions that we all like. We're in a chat room, like, hey,
did this really happen?
Do you know if this is real? ASL, do you know if Marilyn Manson really like?
It is funny how like a lot of people, I'd say probably sub 30, have no idea what we're talking about. You know, I'm gonna leave it there. They can look it up and figure it out.
Oh yeah, but then there's so many things that like Gen Z or
clue,
whatever they're on that like, And I try to keep up a little bit, just, job wise. And I've finally gotten to the point where it literally is too much.
Yeah.
Like, I need to have other people that, like, my kids are great because they keep up to date on all that stuff, and then they just give me the debrief. So it's like, hey, what's going on with Kendrick and Drake? Yeah. And they're like, sit down for 27 and a half minutes, and I will show you everything.
Yeah, we'll lay it all out.
Cool, thank you. I needed that.
What do you think about this new, since you're close to my ear, what do you think about this new Eminem album and all these numbers?
So I listened to it right away.
Me too.
And it is exactly what I thought it was going to be coming into it.
What do you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be the story of, like, the I don't want to say, like, I don't want it to be a retirement album, so I don't know if it's actually that. But, like, it was going to be the story of putting things
into place, like,
away.
Right, yeah.
Like, we're getting ready to, and the separation of Eminem, Marshall from Slim Shady. And so, like, listening to that and the way that he did it conceptually was like, wow, this is fun. Do I think it was as impactful or vicious as some of the other things? Like, I didn't hear anything where I was like, all right, he might have crossed the line.
Me either.
And I know some people took that away.
There was
like,
a couple things, like, not that I felt that way, that where I could see where someone would say, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, but.
Well, even just looking at where he started and some of the things, I can't remember what album it was on, if it was on Kamikaze or Music to be Murdered By, but there was a song where he did the lyric from an early 2000s Eminem song that ended up getting cut from the song. It was the Columbine line. And he did the line in the song 20 years after the fact. So, like, is that just showing how big he is as an artist now, or how things have changed to the point where he can do that? One of the songs that's on this album was one that was scheduled to be released 20 years ago, couldn't be released then, so now is getting the release. Like, is that a comment on where we are as a society, or is that a comment on where Eminem is at? And I think it has more to do with who Eminem is.
Yeah.
Because the memes online of, like, Gen Z, we're going to cancel Eminem, which I know is kind of the point of this whole album, where, like, he's intentionally showing you how he could get canceled, but you can't really cancel Eminem.
You can't cancel him. And you're not really. I haven't seen that much blowback. I don't have the pool of people that would give the blowback though either, so I don't know. But on my side, I haven't seen much.
There's some, but it's the same pockets of, like, TikTok that have, like, just been exposed to Eminem. Like, when you see some great videos of teenagers getting exposed to old school Eminem and hearing it for the first time and going, how is this allowed?
Yeah.
We shouldn't talk about this guy.
Right.
This guy should have been canceled years ago. The
Could
cancel.
be the same thing with wrestling almost. Like, if you.
Oh, yeah. Like, if you tried to put, like, the Sable versus Jacqueline bra and panties match from Raw 1999 on TV this week, it probably would get some pushback.
Yeah.
But that was just normal broadcast back in the day. It's wild to see, like, the cancel culture vibes, which, again, I go back to, like I mentioned previously, like, some stuff, absolutely, we need to have conversations about this. Like, somebody says something, it's like, dude, sit down, can't do that. Yeah. And then other times you see somebody who says something that's, like, relatively benign, and you just shrug it off, but then you come back, like, 2 hours later and find out that, like, the room is on fire and there are apologies, and you're like, what happened? Like, I didn't think twice about that. So it's wild. I try to stay far away from all of it because I don't get it. I don't understand it. And so if I don't understand it, I can't participate.
I can't comment on it. Like, I don't have any.
Yeah, I'm so, like, I don't know what's going on, but when you see Eminem, like, intentionally try to get canceled, then, like, okay, is it going to be successful? Because now he's asking for it. Yeah. So now is it like, do you do it because it's what he wanted, or are you just brushing it off because it's a gimmick? So that was one of those moments where it's like, I don't see a problem here, but am I going to come back in 2 hours and find out that I have to, like, disavow Eminem forever now? Like, what's...
Yeah.
Like,
I see what you're saying.
I have to wait to see now what I'm allowed to, like... I enjoyed it.
Your response. I liked it. I liked it for what it was. I think it's important when something like that is that you know the backstory.
Yeah,
and you see
big time.
You see the evolution, and then you appreciate it more than what
Yep.
it is. Is it one of his best? No.
No, but I think it was special for people in our generation.
It gave us a conversation back in what's going on in the world.
Well, when you saw the music video for Houdini,
Yeah.
and it was like the throwback video.
Great.
It was
It's
like,
great.
all right, I
It's
know
great,
what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I appreciate everything that he did, and being a Michigan guy, and the fact that he put on guys like Baby Tron and Big Sean, and unlike some other Michigan musicians, Detroit specifically, they don't always do that. They'll find people from other places and spread the love. But when you're of Eminem's stature and you snatch a guy like Babytron and just, I know he was doing like an online thing and he was kind of becoming a thing, but you put him on that album, you're that dude. You don't need anyone else.
Yeah.
And you said, you're from Ypsilanti. Let's go ahead and put you on this. Okay. Like, that was wild. So it was not just like a little gift to us and our generation, but the fact that he's taken some people from the new generation and kind of setting them up to carry the torch.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Well, before we wrap this thing up, let's talk about some people that are going to be there.
Okay, yeah.
At Geek'd Con.
Forgot about that whole thing.
No, yeah, let's go because, dude, I feel like we need to do another one of these after the event and just talk shit.
Look, for the last couple of weeks, and it's like this every time, whenever I can hide and not talk about it for a little bit, like I'll take that advantage because as much as I love to do it and get involved, it is morning, noon, and night.
Yeah,
so
I understand.
But yeah, this year we're very diverse in what we do, and going back to the planning stages of this whole thing, we know who we are and where we are. So we have jokingly, at least I have, referred to the event as the Walmart of Comic-Cons. Like, we got a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Like, we don't want to be pigeonholed into a Comic-Con. We do have comic book guests, but it's not all comic book. We always try to represent pro wrestling because it's such a big part of this community. Horror guests have done really well for us. There's a big anime base of fans here, so we always include anime. This year, at the top of the ticket, if you will, we have Tony Todd, who is Candyman from the Candyman film series. He's also a prolific voice actor now. So, like the new Spider-Man video game that came out last year, he's Venom in that game.
Okay.
He's been in the Final Destination movies. Like he's a pretty big name in that world.
I forgot he did. Yeah, he was I remember that now.
The coroner.
Yeah.
Bloodworth.
Yeah.
And then we have Billy Zane, who's a fun one for me because he's like, a lot of people immediately associate him with Titanic.
Phantom. Was it the Phantom?
Phantom.
That's what I associate him with. Yeah.
The Phantom was a big one for me as a kid, but the biggest one I remember him from is the Collector from Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight.
Yeah.
It's one of the best roles of all time. He killed it, knocked it out of the park. So I'm excited about Billy Zane for that one. We have Henry Thomas and Dee Wallace, who are Elliot and Elliot's mom from E.T., which is a pretty big deal just in itself. Like, if you just said that, like, okay, I'm in on that. But then Henry Thomas has had an incredible career where he's evolved into I don't want to say like specifically a horror actor, but he's done so much great horror stuff. So when they did Dr. Sleep a few years ago, which was the sequel to The Shining, he played Jack Torrance in that. So he played Jack Nicholson's character in Dr. Sleep. He's been in the Mike Flanagan universe, which are your Haunting of Hill House, Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, and The Fall of House of Usher, which he just did. So he's been in that world of horror stuff for a few years. Dee Wallace also did a bunch of horror stuff in the 80s. Like, she was the mom in Cujo as well, and she was in Critters. And she's been in TV shows like Supernatural, and she's been very prolific over the last 30, 40 years. So they have big resumes outside of E.T., but you just say E.T., that's enough for me. Like, I'm interested in that. We have John C. McGinley, who's going to be a fun one because a lot of people know him from Scrubs. He was Dr. Cox. He was the adult in the room, if you will. But he's been in a ton of movies. Point Break, back in the day. He was in The Rock with Sean Connery.
Yeah.
He was in... I just blanked on the movie. Seven. So he was California, the SWAT team guy in 7. In the helicopter at the end, what's in the box?
I'm trying to remember.
He's the guy in the headset.
Okay.
Talking to them on the ground. And he's in a couple other scenes throughout the movie as well. Platoon was another big one. He and Tony Todd were both in Platoon. So lots of cool stuff with John C. McGinley. We just recently added Mark Henry, the world's strongest man.
Oh, yeah.
Not only is he a WWE Hall of Famer, but he's an Olympic athlete as well. So it's a good year to have an Olympic guy on a Summer Olympic year. Plus, he's from a little Silsbee, Texas. Yeah. So he's got the Texas tie, although his son is committed to Oklahoma now. So that's going to be awkward. I'm trying to think. Usually I'm really good at this. There's someone, a big block. Oh, Steve Downs. Steve Downs is the voice of Master Chief from Halo. All the Halo video games.
Yeah, okay,
so, like, from the beginning, the original Xbox Halo video game, all the way through the most recent Halo video games, anytime you've heard Spartan 117, it's been Steve Downs.
Oh, people are excited about that one.
I've been trying to figure it out on social media. Like, when we post things, you see a certain reaction, and you can follow those. And for how big, how important Steve Downs is, it's kind of been wild to me that it doesn't have the same kind of...
I feel like it will in person, though.
I really hope so, because that guy deserves...
Yeah.
Like, I'm not... My son is a big Halo guy. I'm not way into Halo, but we played so much as when they were younger that I know his voice better than a lot of my family members. So I'm really excited about him. We've added Annabeth Gish more recently too. Way back in the day, there was a movie called Mystic Pizza that Julia Roberts was in. It's like a coming of age tale, kind of in like it was like the teenage version of Steel Magnolias at the time. Annabeth Gish was the star. She was actually the lead, and Julia Roberts was like the co-star. And then she went on to take over in the X-Files. When Mulder and Scully left, they added Agent Doggett and Agent Reyes, and she was Agent Reyes. So she was a star in the X-Files as well. More recently, she's also done the Mike Flanagan universe stuff, so she's got some horror credentials. She's in the new show Mayfair Witches, which is an Anne Rice product, so there's a lot of Louisiana love there. I'm missing one big part of her resume, but she's great. I'm super thrilled that she jumped on board. Dana DiLorenzo is another one. She was Kelly from Ash vs. Evil Dead. So a lot of our Evil Dead folk love that. But for me, she's great because when Craig Ferguson was on doing his late show, she was Beth the CBS executive. So it's kind of a super niche thing, but for Craig Ferguson fans, like, it's a really big deal. So for me, that's a really big deal. Mitch Pileggi, we talked about the X-Files. He was Agent Skinner in the X-Files. More recently, he's been in the updated Walker TV show. He was in a horror movie in the late 80s, early 90s called Shocker. It's I can't really explain it. It's a weird movie, but it's perfect for that time. So like it has kind of a cult following, but it's not like gaining new fans really. We have a ton of anime guests this year from My Hero Academia and Dragon Ball Z, including Josh Martin, who is a 318 guy. So he's from Houghton, and he'll be coming home to make an appearance. He was also in a few years, he was in the Barney costume in Barney and Friends.
Really?
Yeah. So he's got some fun stories about that.
I have no idea. That's where that's where I grew up.
We've added sports this year too. So we have like Rafael Palmeiro, who was a big Texas Rangers legend back in the day. Willie Rofe, who's an NFL Hall of Famer. He was a New Orleans Saint, played at Louisiana Tech. Bob Lilly, who is a Hall of Famer and Dallas Cowboys legend. Darrell Evans, World Series champion. Billy Sims won a Heisman at Oklahoma. I feel like I'm missing somebody from that list. Jacob Hester and Todd Walker. We have two LSU national champions that are coming in. Also, again, 318 greats. Yeah. So we have a lot of local folk that are going to be participating. Comic book guys from Scout Comics. I think we have like 12 comic book guys. One of them, John Lucas, is a Deadpool comic book artist. So in the Daniel Way run of Deadpool about 10 years ago, he did a couple of issues and some covers and stuff. His Deadpool is one of the best Deadpools I've ever seen. So that one in a Deadpool year is always good. You got a Deadpool summer, you got a Deadpool artist. That's a lot of fun. I really feel like there was someone major that I'm missing.
Josh, you got that list?
We got Kerr Smith, who was also in the Final Destination movie, is known really well for I've always got a resource. Why don't I think about that? It's literally in my pocket.
Yeah. We're being so nostalgic today, man. It's like
I tried to
the old
I really tried to
Prince
intentionally
stuff.
forget about my yeah, there we go. All right. Brett Iwan is the one I was trying to remember because Brett Iwan is the voice of Mickey Mouse. Oh. And he has been the voice of Mickey Mouse for like 20 years. So Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, the Mickey Mouse video games like Epic Mickey.
That's interesting. Yeah,
he's like everything. And it's not just like Disney has one voice.
Yeah.
So theme parks, Brett Iwan. Disney on Ice, Brett Iwan.
How did you get that dude?
The same way that we do all of this stuff. So David Morrissey is another really interesting one. He's the governor from The Walking Dead. He was also in one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who of all time. He's actually flying in from London to do the show. So last year we had Sean Biggerstaff, who was from Harry Potter, who came in specifically to do the show. Having David Morrissey come in was awesome as well. Francis Petit, at least I think I'm saying that right. I think Francois. Sub-Zero from the Mortal Kombat movie in the 90s.
Hell yeah.
He's another one that's coming in internationally just for the show.
Hell yeah.
So that'll be a lot of fun. Barry Hanley, who is a Gamorrean fighter in The Mandalorian, the big green guys that were fighting in like the first episode. He's international. He's from Ireland, but he lives in East Texas. So we have another local tie to the event. We love when we put the local ties in. Efren Ramirez, Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite, we've got him coming in as
hilarious.
well. I still feel like I'm missing. There's like a big blind spot of somebody awesome that I'm not thinking of.
I'm sure they can look it up and see, man.
Yeah,
we don't expect you to get like
Geek'd.com. Well, I feel really bad because I used to be like,
Hey,
there's so many aspects and it's growing. Like the stuff behind the scenes grows so much every single year that like there are things that have nothing to do with like the celebrity list that I have to know as well as that. So like I'm slipping in my old age. But like this year is cool because not only is it international guests, we've actually sold tickets from Germany and Canada. So we have people who are flying in internationally to Shreveport to come to this event. We had it last year too. Now last year was a little bit different because we went so insanely large and had like the big View Askew reunion that you don't see in Chicago or Dallas. And 2-day appearances from Kevin Smith don't happen ever.
Yeah, that was
so we had a lot of people who were traveling from a lot of far distances last year. This year we've got at least 12 states. I think that number's gone up now. We've got Washington State, multiple different ticket sales there. I know we've got Chicago on the list. We've got some California. We got some Colorado. We have New York. But we have fans from all over the place coming in, which is awesome.
That's good, man. We need it here with everything going on. I mean, I'm excited everything's going on here, but I'm glad that you guys are doing this because, like I said, it's something I've been wanting to attend, and I want to make sure I can make it this year. But, I'm excited about it, and we're definitely gonna have to do another one of these because I want to talk like horror films and other stuff.
Oh
so
yeah,
you just got into that, and that's my shit. What do you think about Long Legs? Have you seen it yet?
I haven't got to see Long Legs yet. I've been so jacked up. So it creeped up on me because
I didn't know anything about it.
I didn't know, and then all of a sudden people are like, "This is one of the greatest movies of the year," and so
I'm jaded by that term too. You know, when it comes to horror, because every time they say that, I'm like. You know,
I'll give it a shot. Like
yeah,
I'm a Shudder horror.
I'm there, dude. I'm there for it, especially with Nick Cage. I mean, come on.
So I did what we all do in today's day and age, which sucks. Is I immediately went, "Where's it streaming?"
Me too.
Not like where's it playing in a theater, which is what my first reaction should be. I did that because I was
at the house and I wanted to watch it right.
I want to watch it now.
Yeah, I'll pay the
give it to me
now.
now.
But since it's in theaters, we'll go see it there. I'm great.
Yeah, I love an excuse to go to a movie theater.
Where you gonna be when Deadpool drops? Where are you watching it at?
I'm hoping to be able to see it night one, but I'm not sure what the schedule is right now.
I think I'm gonna be day 2 not in this area, somewhere
Okay.
else that I've already planned to be. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
It has to go down. Like back in the day, Deadpool was a tertiary character.
Yeah.
Deadpool was nothing. Deadpool was a villain. And I got into Deadpool when there was a run of Deadpool and Cable in the late 90s when they first really made him. It might have even been early 2000s. Because he had
the comic book.
The comic books, yeah. He had a couple of runs. So he debuted in New Mutants 98, or not New Mutants. Yeah, New Mutants 98. 87 was Cable. New Mutants 98, he debuts, but he is not even like the number one debut in that because a character named Domino debuts and Gideon debuts. And so for the longest time, those were the two headlining debuts.
Gotcha.
Nobody cared about Deadpool. He was a one-off assassin, no big deal, had triangles for feet and a bunch of pouches. So a few years later, they give him like 2 4-shot solo runs, just limited release comics. Nobody still cares. Then they start to do the comedic stuff, and he starts to become a fourth wall, breaking off the wall. And as like a younger, teenager, that's exactly what I want on my comic books at this time. Like pro wrestling on TV, Deadpool talking to me through the comic books.
Yeah.
So I became a huge Deadpool fan way before Ryan Reynolds was like a thing.
Just the X-Men Origins. I mean, Wolverine.
Yeah.
Tying that in and then deciding there
Yeah.
that that's him.
Yep.
And however, like foreshadowing, like who could have thought that would turn into what it did? You know
I
what
got
mean?
so upset in that movie.
Really?
Yeah, because they treated Deadpool so poorly.
yeah,
like
yeah,
everything was done so wrong.
Yeah. I mean, dude, they were the first run of those was a weird time, but it's still exciting to
Oh, it
see
was
those
great to see
those
them on-
cartoons come to life.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
For me, cartoons, because I was so dead set on that series, right? And so to see those come to life, it's just like, holy shit, that's Wolverine.
That-
there will never be another Wolverine. That is him. Like,
That plays into those things that I wish that I would have kept before and how much money I've lost on things. The amount of New Mutants 98 comic
I
books
can
that I
only
bought
imagine.
for like $1.
dude, I can only imagine.
That
What are they worth now?
it depends on condition.
Of course,
Condition
yeah,
is a
of
big
course.
part of
Let's
it.
say,
But
a Gem Mint 10.
Gem Mint 10,
graded.
6, 7
Yeah.
grand maybe.
Yeah.
If you got a raw copy, you can probably get $500 right now. You got a Mark Jewelers variant, you can get even more. Like you got just the newsstand without the Mark Jewelers in it, you can get $600, $700 raw. But like those were dollar bin books all day long. I've probably had hundreds of copies in my life.
That's crazy.
I've
It's
had
like the Pokemon card thing, man.
I've had a dozen copies of Walking Dead 1.
Yeah.
Like so many books that you wish that you would have held on to.
That's
And
life, though, bro. It
That
happens
is
every
it-
day.
like every time I traded Charizard away from a Snorlax, like
What?
oh man, Snorlax was my guy though.
Oh, yeah,
Like
'cause-
that was my Pokemon.
Dude,
So if I got a chance to get one of those holofoils, done. You want the Charizard? Let's go.
Yeah.
You just throw in the Raichu. We got a
Raichu
deal.
was my favorite. For
Raichu
some
was
reason, I don't
solid.
know. I like that one.
I
like that one.
my brother was way into Gengar. Gengar and
That's the
Snorlax
little,
were big.
Gengar's the one, the little monster.
He was the
purple thing.
ghost that
Ghost.
had feet.
Yes,
So there was
he's
like
the
Ghastly
fully-
and Haunter, and
the
he was the fully
fully
evolved
evolved version, yeah,
which
yeah.
in the game was tough
Fucking
because you
nice.
had to like trade
Yeah.
to make it happen. And like who had the little cable? Like there was one kid in class
Oh
who
yeah,
had the
you had
cable.
to plug it up to the other Game Boy.
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I
like,
forgot about
whoever
that.
had that?
Yeah, no, we didn't have that. I did have the magnifying glass with the light on it though. bro.
Everyone had to have one of
Yes,
those.
and the extra battery thing. And,
Or when you had one and then you get the new Game Boy Color and it doesn't fit. So this whole time you've been playing with that thing and now you got to go find a new man. First what?
world
Geodude?
problem. Geodude. You
Oh,
like the
yeah.
Geodude, and then he turned.
He evolved all the way up to Graveler.
Yeah. The big round guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which
Being a rock with like chisel arms.
Yeah.
I think that was another one that you had to end up trading to get him
I
to
don't
a
remember on the
Graveler.
game. Yeah, I don't remember on that.
I
I was the Onyx Steelix guy.
Oh, Onyx
That
Onyx
my-
was
if I
solid.
doing a rock type, that was mine,
Yep.
I believe.
Yeah, if I was going rock type, I would try an Onyx, but there was only like one place that you could get it, and so
Or you have like what do you have, the Machop, which was rock and
Machop.
karate or whatever.
yeah, you had
that was cool.
Machop, Machoke,
Yeah.
and
Machamp. Yeah,
Machamp. Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Looks
Which
just
was
like the dude
I
off
swear
of-
I think that's another one that you had to trade for.
I believe so.
I
It
think
was
you had to
weird.
trade to make the evolution happen.
Yeah, it was weird. There was a couple of those. It was weird.
But like Snorlax was the only complaint that I ever had about Snorlax is that you got it so late in the game. You had to go get the flute, and then you had to find him and play the flute to wake him up, and then catch him. And he was a normal type Pokemon. So by the time you were that far in the game that you got him, he was worthless on your squad
you
because
couldn't do anything with him.
Yeah, like what was I going to do with him? So I made him like my 5th guy, and I'd go to Victory Road with just like Snorlax, who didn't do anything the whole time, but he's cool to have around. That was my guy. Yeah, that's like I just want to sleep, man. I identify with that.
Oh man,
I just want to sleep and eat.
Let's wrap this thing up. We're gonna have to do another one of these.
Yeah,
sorry. No, dude, I love it. Off-site, I think we got a lot of stuff we can talk about. I'm glad we kind of broke the ice here and got to talk about that stuff too. And I'm excited. Drop some plugs here for dates and times and where they can find information.
We are August 16th through the 18th this year. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday night this year is going to be a lot different than it has been in the past. Previously, Friday night has been like a vendor preview night where we don't contract guests to come in. You just shop from the vendors. We've had so many guests who now want to be a part of Friday night here that we are going to have like not a full, but we're going to have a lot of quality guests on Friday night. So it's going to be a full-fledged night. Friday is always fun too because as soon as we get done, like that's the first night that the guests go eat somewhere, and so people run into them, and like Friday's just a fun night. Saturday is the full-blown like pedal is down. We are going all day long. All the guests in the house, panels running. We're working on a couple other things for Saturday. Hopefully they come through. And then Sunday is where we do our cosplay contest every year. So most of the guests still in the house, all the same. It's a lot lighter on Sunday too. So if people are like, I don't want to go be in a mass of people, cool. Get a Sunday ticket, come down Sunday, because when that cosplay contest starts, thousands of people go upstairs and disappear from the main floor. So if you want to be able to walk directly up to the celebrity that you're looking for and get your picture and your autograph and spend some time talking to them, Sunday is the best day to do that because so many people are going to be upstairs watching that cosplay contest that it clears the floor out. And sometimes they're looking at each other going like, where was everyone from yesterday?
Yeah.
And if you take them upstairs and go, here's where they all are, and they see all the people in the, like, okay, that makes sense. So Friday night is that, I don't want to say party night because we're not actually doing a party. There is an after party though. There's an after party Friday and Saturday at Sweet Caroline's on the boardwalk. I have a feeling a lot of our guests are already they're already making plans to go down there. So if you want to see some of those guys down there, that will be the after party spot. But we're coming up with some crazy ideas for bears that week too. So we're going to have some things going on there. Working on a real fun plan with the Robinson Film Center. Hopefully that comes through here in the next few days. I don't know when this is going to drop, but
you got some time. So
it may already be out there by the time this hits. So if that happened, you know what I'm talking about. If it doesn't happen, you'll never know. But we're trying to we've always wanted to make this into like a huge celebration of the whole area. Like we're bringing people in from other countries, from a dozen other states. Like we're having a multi-million-dollar economic impact on the downtown area, and we just want like everybody to get involved.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes it's been a struggle to get everyone rowing in the same direction. But this is year 9. So like by now we should all hopefully understand what's going to happen. We're starting to see a little bit of it now with like the unofficial parties and stuff popping up. Okay, let's go.
Hell yeah.
Let's make it work.
Hell yeah. I love it, dude. Thanks for your time today, and I look forward to coming and hanging out, and we got to do this again sometime.
Yeah, sorry I took so much time.
No, dude,
I talk for a living.
Next time we'll
so.
go longer. Appreciate it, bro.
Awesome. Thank you.